Hey, welcome back to Mike's Diabetes World. Current blood sugar, 4.8, which for most people is okay. For me, it's a little bit lower. 92% time in range. That's very good. Again, we have these two numbers, 4% above and 4% below. That's kind of like you want to have it below 4. So, double strikes against me there. My average blood sugar, 6.1. I don't mind sharing this information for you. It's all positive. Today, I want to take a look at DKA. And I titled this My DKA, My Fault. And not necessarily saying that, but we're going to take a look and find out what else. Was it actually my fault, or did something else happen? We'll be right back. This channel is provided for informational purposes only. Contact your physician for any diagnostic or treatment plan. Press the like symbol if you enjoyed any part of this video. Thank you. I have two DKA stories. One DKA was probably 75% my fault, okay? And 25% other reasons. Okay, so I get up one morning, November 28th, I'll remember that day. Now, I didn't take my insulin, and I would just go walk, just did my routine. I must have got up and taken the dog for a walk. Now, I supposedly called a friend, and I was not sort of there. I was very delirious in the conversation. And it was, this was probably around 2 in the afternoon. And he got me to lie down, and he said, I'm going to call an ambulance. And in my mind, you don't need to call an ambulance. So let's get the light better. Now, for some of you know, that's diabetics will deny everything. Are you low? Are you high? No, don't call. Don't. Well, he called. And I'm going to stop it there. But before we do, something that I should add, I had an infection in my leg, and it had been an ongoing issue for at least 6 months beforehand. It got red, it got hot. I'd go to the doctor a couple of times. They tried antibiotics on me. I had started at a wound care place and started to go there. I was admitted. Or sorry, it wasn't admitted. They did. I went in there. They started treatment. Went home. In that time, I guess the infection had got worse and worse. So without the insulin in my system, my blood sugars just went through the roof. And I had a real issue. I had total delirium. I was totally out of it. And hypoglycemia was a real problem. And DKA just took right over. I guess when I spoke to my friend earlier that day, I made no sense. And when he called, the ambulance came. They saw I had a high blood sugar. So they're assuming DKA. And it was high enough that they felt I should go to the hospital. I know they started an IV in the room just to get me fluids. And in the ambulance, they started another IV. I don't know why, too. I guess one to treat in case I dropped. I went in there. I can remember being put in a special room. I needed real intense sort of treatment. I can remember her having to change an IV. And then I kind of went out of it. And I can remember waking up and still being delirious, not knowing where I was. I was one of those patients, if you've ever been in the hospital, who would sit there yelling. So I'll give that one was mine. I probably wouldn't have had DKA if I had remembered to take my insulin. I probably took out my pump and then forgot to install it, or a little aside, while I was in the hospital that time, I had 3 more DKAs. I would go high and trying to treat. I was on very little insulin. Then I started to get on more insulin. Interesting. But I went through 3 more times. And the last time I went through, I said to the young doctor who was sort of in charge of looking after me, I said, I'm not doing this again. And up till, September this year, I had problems with my blood sugar. My blood sugar had constantly kept going up. Now, I kept trying to voice my opinion. I have a feeling this might head towards DKA. I don't want DKA. And I can't have me going into DKA. And no, well, I don't smell the fruit. Sorry, I just saw something. I guess it's the fire plug. Sorry. And I just got eventually, something just hit. I went through, I got very sick very quickly. I was taken into emergency at the hospital that's tied in with this facility and was transferred to Abbotsford. We've gone through this. You can look back and see the story. That one wasn't my fault. I'm not looking at just a number of things. The people who take care of me here didn't know how I react. And when I react very quickly. So I spent a week and a half over in Surrey and spent the weekend back at this hospital before coming home. That was not a comedy of errors. It was just a comedy of things all lined up. I was taking insulin. I had my pump set. I was giving myself astronomical amounts of insulin. I'm not going to tell you how much insulin I was taking because you shouldn't be doing this. But that was keeping me out of DKA to a point. Then they got me out of DKA and I went back into it again. So my pattern now is I come out of DKA and I can go back into DKA very easily. So what's the purpose of this video? The purpose of this video is, yes, sometimes if you don't take enough insulin or there's a problem in your delivery of insulin, you could end up with a high blood sugar. That could end up in DKA. If you also are fighting something else, like I said in the second story, there was my leg. They found that to be infected, and probably the best thing was I was on strong antibiotics. I think for a while there I was on 3 antibiotics. I got that cleared out. That was great. But with all that, it kind of landed me in here. And not only for diabetes, but for other things. I just need extra care sometimes. Now, they're pretty good here. They've learned the way my body reacts. So, when you're trying to do everything and you still come up with having issues, just get them treated. If you find you're being sick, you're getting delirious, get to an emergency room, call 911. If you are fighting an infection, call your doctor, which I did, which we were trying to work on getting it taken care of. While I was in the hospital, I think I went in November 28th, came out, I'll say, around March 15th. So I was in there a good length of time. That one wasn't my fault. But you have to be aware. If your blood sugars are starting to creep up and you have no explanation why, call your endo, call your doctor, at least get hold of your doctor. If you have, you can also contact your diabetes educator. And don't try to be this, oh, I don't need an educator. I can do it all myself. It took me a while to come around to think that yes, I need an educator. And I was lucky. I have an excellent one. I have an excellent endocrinologist. So don't let things get to DKA. Whether you did something or it's a combination of things. If you go into DKA, get it treated. I can remember leaving here feeling sick, being taken by a bed to the emergency room. And then once they started IV insulin, my blood sugar came down enough that I wasn't feeling like I wanted to crawl out of my skin. And I'm sure those of you who have been in DKA know what that feels like. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't the staff here's fault. It was just getting used to the drugs, new drugs, trying different things. And with that, don't let DKA interrupt your life. Get the help you need. Yes, it may mean time in the emergency room or even staying in the hospital. But don't let that worry. Take care, and we'll have a good day, and we'll talk later. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. Thank you. My email is mikesdiabetesworld@gmail.com. mikesdiabetesworld@gmail.com.